Regina K. Walters was a 14-year-old girl from Houston, Texas, who tragically became the victim of one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, Robert Ben Rhodes, known as the Truck Stop Killer. Robert Ben Rhodes' crimes spanned over several years, leaving a trail of victims, and while Regina's life was cut short, her case became one of the most infamous linked to his name. Through examining Regina's life, her abduction, and the eventual discovery of her body, we can better understand the nature of this criminal and the chilling reality of his crimes. Regina K. Walters was born on June 20th, 1975 in Houston, Texas. Growing up, she had a relatively normal life, though like many teenagers, she struggled with feelings of independence and a desire to experience the world outside her immediate environment. Regina was described by those who knew her as a sweet, thoughtful young girl. However, she was also a typical teenager, seeking adventure and, like many in her position, trying to escape the restrictions of home life. In the early part of 1990, Regina ran away from home. She was not the only one. Many young teenagers go through phases of running away from home, seeking independence or freedom from family rules. In Regina's case, she ran away with her 15-year-old boyfriend, Ricky Lee Jones. The two set off on an ambitious journey, hoping to escape to Mexico with little more than the clothes on their backs. They had no particular destination in mind, simply a desire to experience life on their terms. They took to hitchhiking, hoping to find a way out of Texas and into a new life. What they didn't know was that this seemingly innocent decision would lead them into the clutches of a serial killer, whose violent and cruel actions would cut short their journey. Robert Ben Rhodes, born in 1945, was a long-haul truck driver whose occupation provided the perfect cover for his criminal activities. While he appeared to be a regular man, professional, traveling across the country for work, Rhodes led a double life. He is believed to have been responsible for the abduction, torture, and murder of multiple women over a span of years, between the 1970s and 1990s. His occupation as a truck driver allowed him to travel freely across state lines, making it difficult for authorities to trace his movements and link his crimes. Rhodes' truck became his mobile torture chamber. Equipped with chains, handcuffs, and other devices, it allowed him to carry out his sadistic acts without fear of being caught. He would pick up young women, often hitchhikers, and take them aboard his truck. Once on board, they were at his mercy. Rhodes would then imprison them, subjecting them to physical and psychological torment before eventually murdering them. He is thought to have killed many women, but only a few of his victims have been definitively identified. His crimes were often carried out in isolated areas such as truck stops or remote highways, making it easy for him to act without interference. What made Rhodes particularly terrifying was the fact that he took photographs of his victims. These photographs, showing the women in distress, were chilling reminders of his power over his victims and his twisted desire to relive their suffering. In February 1990, Regina and her boyfriend Ricky were hitchhiking along a road in Texas, hoping to find a ride that would take them closer to their goal of reaching Mexico. The two young teenagers were likely unaware of the dangers that could be lurking on the open road. Their encounter with Robert Ben Rhodes would prove to be their last. Rhodes, seeing them as easy prey, stopped and offered them a ride. They accepted, and what seemed like a simple act of kindness turned into a nightmare. As soon as they were in Rhodes' truck, the young couple was trapped. Shortly after taking them aboard, Rhodes murdered Ricky. He disposed of Ricky's body in Mississippi, leaving it in a remote area. Regina, now alone and at the mercy of Rhodes, was held captive by the killer for several weeks. During this time, Rhodes subjected her to unspeakable horrors. He kept her in his truck, moved her between various locations, and tortured her. Rhodes would later take photographs of her in distress, capturing her fear and helplessness. These photographs would go on to play a crucial role in identifying Regina as his final known victim, though at the time, Regina's identity was not immediately known. The photographs, one of which is particularly haunting, show Regina in a black dress and heels, standing in a barn. Her hair had been cut short, and her face showed signs of fear and resignation. It is believed that Rhodes made these images not only to document his crimes, but also as a way of reliving the power he held over his victims. On September 29, 1990, Regina's case came to a tragic end. Rhodes murdered her in cold blood, strangling her with a baling wire. He left her body in an abandoned barn near Greenville, Illinois. Her remains were discovered by police, and an investigation was launched. However, it was the photographs taken by Rhodes that would eventually help to identify her. The photographs taken by Robert Ben Rhodes became one of the most significant pieces of evidence in the investigation into his crimes. These images were discovered after Regina K. Walters' body was found, and they provided investigators with a direct link to her abduction and death. In Regina's case, the images depicted her in a black dress and heels, standing in an abandoned barn, looking fearful. The dress was clearly chosen by Rhodes as part of his cruel manipulation of the victim. Investigators linked this photograph to the identification of Regina through clothing, hairstyle, and other details from the crime scene. It was a critical part of the investigation that brought Rhodes to justice. Initially, the body was found without identification, and it took some time before authorities connected the dots. Investigators soon discovered that Rhodes had been calling Regina's family, taunting them with information about her whereabouts. These phone calls, along with the photographs, were key to solving the case. Through these leads, it was confirmed that the victim in the barn was indeed Regina K. Walters. Her family, who had been desperately searching for her since her disappearance, were devastated to learn the truth. The brutal nature of her death, combined with the horrifying images captured by Rhodes, made this case one of the most disturbing in the history of American serial crimes. In 1994, after a lengthy investigation, Robert Ben Rhodes was arrested and convicted for the first-degree murder of Regina K. Walters. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Not only did investigators have the disturbing photographs of Regina, but they also found evidence linking him to other crimes. In the years that followed, Rhodes was implicated in additional murders, and he was charged with the deaths of other women, including Patricia Walsh and Douglas Ziskovsky. Despite being convicted for some of his crimes, Rhodes is believed to have killed many more women than he was ever charged with. Due to the nature of his crimes and the fact that many of his victims were never identified, Rhodes remains one of the most dangerous serial killers in US history. Rhodes pleaded guilty to 2 additional murders in Utah, for which he received 2 additional life sentences.